I'm 24 years old now, and I keep meeting my birth mom without her knowing it's me. She had me when she was just 14. I was given up for adoption, and my parents were always honest with me about it. Growing up, they even gave me the letter she wrote for me, asking them to pass it on. Sometimes I still read it and can't believe a literal child wrote it, apologizing for not being able to be my mommy and hoping I'm happy. She was open to having contact with me, but when I was 11, we moved for my dad's job. After that, it seemed impossible to find her. But eventually I did. I found her working at a small restaurant. I started going there often, but she doesn't know it's me. We've even talked a few times, and she seems like a really nice person. Sometimes when she says things like, "Do you want a refill, honey?" or calls me something sweet, I feel like telling her the truth. But I get so nervous. We chat more when it's not busy, and she seems so genuine. I even drive 2 hours just to eat there and see her. She recognizes me now, since I've been going once or twice a week for the past 3 months. She always greets me with a big smile. But man, if only she knew. I finally did it. I told her. It was so intense. My heart was racing. I had been thinking about how to break the news for a while. A lot of people suggested I write her a letter, just like she did for me. At first, that was my plan, but I realized I needed to say it face to face. I'm really thankful for all the support and stories from other birth parents. It gave me the courage to finally confront her. This happened just 2 days ago. I waited for her to finish her shift at the restaurant. They were closing, so I waited outside in the parking lot. When she came out, we said hi like usual. But then I told her I had something important to share. I started by apologizing for keeping it from her for so long. She didn't really react until I pulled out the letter she had written. That's when she just broke down. She didn't even need me to finish saying I was her son. She saw the letter and instantly knew. She started screaming and crying all at once. Next thing I knew, she was hugging me. Then, she pulled back to ask if it was okay to hug me, and of course I said yes. We just stood there, hugging and crying in the parking lot. The thing that really got to me was when she looked at me and said, "Look how big you got." Her crying made me cry too. She insisted on reopening the restaurant so we could sit inside. We had coffee, ate some pie, and talked for hours. She told me that when I first came into the restaurant, she had a feeling it might be me, but she couldn't believe it. She didn't want to get her hopes up, because for years she used to see boys my age and wonder if they were me. It messed with her mind and made her really sad, so she tried to suppress that feeling. She also said I look a lot like my biological dad did when he was younger. She told me about him too. They stayed in contact with each other, just in case I ever tried to find one of them. I didn't think I'd ever find him since I hadn't heard much about him, so I'm glad they planned for this. She explained how both of them wanted to keep me, especially my biological dad. But they were just kids, and they knew it wasn't possible. He took it really hard after I was born and didn't leave anything behind because he couldn't bear the idea of not seeing me again. We talked until almost 2 in the morning. Her main concern was knowing if I had been happy. She asked if my parents treated me well and if I had a good childhood. I reassured her that I did, and I thanked her for giving me the life I have now. We both cried again. She cried the most, switching between being happy and sad throughout our conversation. She told me that after I turned 18, she hoped I would try to find her. That's why she stayed in the same city. But when I didn't, she started to believe I might resent her. Or maybe I wasn't told I was adopted. She thought maybe I just didn't want her in my life. It made me feel guilty for not telling her sooner, but she reassured me that I wasn't to blame. She said I did the right thing by going at my own pace. She's so sweet. The way she kept looking at me with the biggest smile, it made me emotional. It's wild how someone who's been a stranger your whole life can look at you with so much love. We learned so much about each other. Before we left, she asked if we could have dinner again soon. She also invited me to her home someday to meet her husband. We exchanged numbers, and after I left, she texted me, thanking me for giving her this gift that she wasn't sure would ever come. Later, my girlfriend came over, and I cried in her arms. But it wasn't from sadness. These were happy tears. Everything went better than I could have imagined, even though it was so emotionally heavy.